Okay, if you're ever setting a goal for yourself or helping other people set goals, bear this one in mind. Now, what I've got here is, if this is where someone is now and they've set this goal, and we're encouraged to make our goals smart, very specific and measurable, and like this pointing, this is specifically what I want. And that's brilliant because it gives us directionality, it gives us something to head towards. However, what if that becomes unavailable? What if that becomes, I'm not going to say unachievable, because I wouldn't want to put barriers in the way, but what if this point here isn't quite it, or we get this very specific thing that we thought we wanted and it wasn't quite what we wanted? So when you're exploring out a goal, a really useful question when someone's established what it is that they want is, what would you get by having that? Or what would that give you? Come up with a list of things, because that's the real criteria. That's the reason why we want what we want. And that's how it all opens back out again. Now, imagine, if you will, let's say in a work environment, the manager's talking to a member of staff and said, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? And the person says, I'd like your job. Well, the manager might go, you're welcome to it. Or they might go, no, this is my job. Or they might sort of say, what is it about the job, this specific thing that you think you want? What is it about the job that appeals to you? What would that give you? Then, whatever the answer is to that question, whatever kind of response is, it might be about responsibility, leading a team, etc., those will be achievable in 101 other ways. So it broadens out your ability to actually get what you really want. An extreme version of this one, let's say somebody's goal is to win the lottery, or let's be even more specific, to win 10 million on the lottery. Okay, cool. That's a goal that someone has. In terms of achieving it, buy some tickets, I guess. But more important than that is going to be, what would you get by winning the lottery? You can do this as an exercise. What would you get if you won 10 million on the lottery? Write it down, write down a list of things that you'd get. And for everything that you still haven't got access to, or seems to, sort of very, very material or big, like a Ferrari or a mansion or something like that, just do a sub-list around that. What would you get by having the Ferrari? What would you get by having the mansion? Because eventually what you'll end up with is a list of things that you've either got access to now or could achieve through other means, through a number of different means. So have a think about that one. What would you get by having that? It helps to unlock when people get a bit stuck in terms of wanting to get a specific goal. Okay, so here's a story I read some years ago. So there's a guy on a training course about goal setting, about how to be specific and measurable, etc., and that's great. Got the impression that the person didn't want to be on that course and was dissatisfied with their job in general anyway. So the goal that they had to come up with, he came up with the goal of, I want to be a first division football player. Now this was quite a few years ago, so now to kind of translate that to Premier League. Okay, so let's say Premier League football player. Now this guy was 35, he played Sunday football. He knew the game inside out, was passionate, loved the game, but at that age and etc., without putting barriers in the way, that wasn't going to happen. So, bless them, on the training course they asked the guy, okay, so what would you get by achieving that? What would that give you? So he came up with things like getting on the big pitches, big crowds, getting to meet all the players, all these other players, these people that were his deities, and being paid for what he did, living it, breathing it. Well, have a think about it. That's a criteria that could be met in another way. And indeed, he did meet that in another way. As I say, knew the game inside out. So what he did, he trained to become a referee and moved up the scale to a top level referee and became the equivalent of a Premier League referee. So by asking that question of what would you get by achieving that, he was able to unlock other possibilities to give him what he really wanted. Now the article that I was reading was actually about a Premier League referee, and the question was, how did you get to be a First Division or Premier League referee? And that was the story he told. Once upon a time I was on a training course and I was dissatisfied with my job, the story I've just told you. So there you go, it's a long story, however it's a real interesting one to consider when you're setting goals. Okay, get specific, that's brilliant, and then ask yourself, what would I get by achieving that? Because that's going to help you, that's going to help to unlock other ways of achieving what you really want.